Well, obviously a tough one for the Saints to lose this one. I mean, really kind of scrambled around and put themselves in position to win it at the end, and that was pretty much a miracle. It's hard to win a game when you're this sloppy offensively with the drop passes and the penalties early that really contribute to putting the Saints in a hole, and they were able to dig out of it and take a late lead. So again, a team that was scrappy and really got in position to try to win it at the end, but then gave up yet another big play on defense. Again, the defense just wasn't able to stop the explosive plays by the Falcons today. Stop the running game, made them one-dimensional, but the Falcons were able to really take advantage of that secondary, and so the Saints, lose after having a 3-game winning streak. Now 5-3 heading to Tennessee, but again, extremely disappointing because you kind of felt like the Saints were going to be able to come into this game and take care of a team that was 3-4. And hopefully climb into first place in the NFC South Division, and it just wasn't meant to be. I mean, they really stepped on their, all over themselves early in this game. The drop passes early, they probably had more drops than receptions in the first quarter, and it's tough to win an NFL game that way. They had a slew of penalties that took them out of field goal range, it took them out of scoring range early in this game. Again, it's tough to win an NFL game that way.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
This has been a really opportunistic defense, a defense that says it wants to be on the field at the end of games, but they didn't get it done early in the game. They didn't get it done during the middle of the game, and then when they finally got a little momentum in the fourth quarter and were able to get a sack of Matt Ryan and give the offense a chance to score a go-ahead touchdown, then they couldn't get off the field late to win the game, to cap the game, to put the Falcons in a position where even they had to kick a longer field goal. And unfortunately, that's the way it goes. I mean, they don't play these things on paper. The Falcons came in and they weren't just going to hand a game away just because they've been a team that hadn't had a winning record this season. They were going to come in with a lot of spirit, and they did exactly what we thought they would in a rivalry-type game. And again, unfortunately for the Saints, they just couldn't put it together early enough. They just couldn't get it going on offense, and you just kind of felt like they were going to be, walking around in mud for the majority of this game, and they were. Trevor Siemian really had some nice passes early that hit receivers in the hands and ended up on the turf. And in an NFL game, again, that's a lot to overcome when you're talking about your receivers not being able to make catches for you. When you're talking about, having penalties along your offensive line, a lot to overcome whether you're at home, on the road. It doesn't matter who you're playing, whether it's the Falcons or the Jets or any other team in the NFL. That's just a lot to overcome. And the Saints were unable to overcome it. I don't know exactly what the final numbers look like. No, the Saints win the time of possession, and that's always critical to winning games. But there were so many big plays for the Falcons in the passing game. So many big plays for the Falcons in the passing game that, defensively they just couldn't get off the field in the critical elements of the game. They just couldn't get the stops in the critical elements of the game. And now you look back on it. And the touchdown right before halftime by the Falcons, they scored in the red zone, and the Saints had been the best red zone defense in the NFL coming into this one. But they give up that red zone score right at the end of the first half, and that turns out to be pretty huge also because, every point it turns out to be really critical in this one. And the Saints can't get a couple of two-point conversions. So that also didn't help much. If they get the final two-point conversion, at least the Falcons are going for a game-tying field goal instead of a game-winning field goal. That's a chip shot. So a lot of factors go into this one. Coach Sean Payton always says, there are a lot of dirty hands that go into a loss. Well, a lot of dirty hands went into this one because, there are a lot of areas that the Saints will look at and probably not feel really good about when they come out of this one. A lot of places, a lot of players, they'll, I'm sure, point at themselves and say, you know what, I didn't do enough in this one. And they'll probably be pretty much right because there are a lot of things that just went awry in this one that easily correctable, catching passes, you expect that out of NFL receivers. So, but you can't get it back on this one. You can't get it back in this day. And so, unfortunately, you come out with a loss on this one, Aaron.
A lot of yards through the air for the Falcons. Total yards was 366. Passing yards, though, was 332. What was it about this Falcons team that had them so effective through the air today, Jay?
Well, they were able to capitalize on some one-on-one matchups. And, they had some guys, Kyle Pitts, the rookie tight end. I don't know if we mentioned him pregame, but obviously, he's a good target. But Cordarrelle Patterson in the passing game turned out to be huge for them also. I mean, they had a couple of guys who could give you some mismatches. Saints knew that coming in. I mean, they gave the ultimate respect to Kyle Pitts, the tight end, because they had Marshawn Lattimore, the number 1 cornerback, on him. But Kyle Pitts is a really talented player. He's a number 4 overall pick in the NFL draft for a reason, and he was able to beat that coverage a couple of times early, and that kind of set the stage for what the Falcons wanted to do offensively.
For the Saints, they had 376 total yards, so that's 10 more yards than the Falcons did have. However, there was a costly turnover that led to one of the Falcons' scores there at the beginning of the fourth quarter, gave them that 18-point lead. That turnover became something that was a difference maker in this ball game, as the Saints were able to really come back in the fourth quarter. They scored 19 unanswered points, a little bit too late for the Saints. However, on that last play, when Matt Ryan connected with Carterell Patterson, Paulson Adebo got beat on the outside. What did you see by the rookie today? He's been targeted a lot, and he's risen to the occasion on several of them. However, in this game, tough matchup for him.
Yeah, I mean, that's just flat out a situation where, you're in a one-on-one situation and either you win or you don't. And unfortunately for him, it turned out to be a huge one. Patterson's one of those guys who, he's a receiver, he's a runner, he's a returner, and he's got multiple skills. He's got a lot of speed. He's a big guy, and he's able to get the leverage on Paulson Adebo. He was able to get behind him, and he's got that kind of speed. He's been an elite player in the NFL for quite some time, and the Falcons seem to be using him a little bit differently than probably he's been used in other places, more so as a receiver and a runner. But man, when he gets behind you, he's a tough guy to catch up to, and that's what he did to Adebo. We've seen Adebo have some shaky games this season, unfortunately, and that goes along with the growing pains of being a rookie. He'll learn from this one, but you put him against a veteran like that, and you get him in that situation, Patterson's able to get behind him, and that turns out to be not the game-winning play, but the play that set up the game-winning play.
Trevor Siemian, quarterback for the Saints, went the whole game pretty much, except for Taysom Hill came in for 2 snaps. One, he did not even have to do anything, and he had a successful first down because of the encroachment by the Falcons. And then he came in again a little bit later in the game. However, the play of Siemian, he was solid throughout the game, and it wasn't necessarily what he was doing that put the Saints down in this game early. However, it was the receivers, some dropped passes, some missed catches. Siemian ended up 25 of 41 for 249 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was sacked that one time, and then a fumble ensued. What did you like about his play today, though?
Well, he was accurate, and we saw that last week against Tampa Bay. Trevor Siemian, he deserved better than his numbers had in this game. I mean, he was a much better passer. He was much more accurate than the numbers would suggest. I think you said 25 of 41. Well, you probably can add on a good 5 drops and another, 110 yards on that probably. I thought he was that accurate, and I thought he was, again, poised. Yeah, he did have the turnover, but, he did a lot of good things in this game, and as you mentioned earlier in this game, his receivers just didn't help him out a whole lot. So, I think the Saints will like what they see of him in this game as they did last game, because a lot of this was, he was doing what you needed him to do in this game. Played within himself, kept some plays alive. He handles the blitz pretty well. He finds the open receiver. So, he's in a situation where, when you're down as many players as the Saints are, you need a lot of things to go right, and you need guys to help and to do their job at, because Sean Payton says, do your job. If your job is to catch the football, catch the football. And he had, unfortunately, not enough of that in this game. Now, I say that, and they did rally again. You have to remember they rallied to take the lead in this game. But Trevor Siemian, I thought, played a pretty good game in this one. I thought he had a really nice outing, considering, he wasn't getting a whole lot of help early, and he stayed with it and stuck with it, and the offense was able to, kind of piecemeal something together in that fourth quarter to be able to take the lead.
Running back Alvin Kamara had a good game. He led the team in rushing yards and receiving yards, 13 carries for 50 yards, a touchdown, and then also 4 receptions, 54 yards. With a 19-yard long for him, he was very effective. He helped the team. He helped them move the ball down the field. It was tough. There weren't a lot of other options on the field. He can't be your only person that you're going to. Who needs to step up offensively and be some of these playmakers?
Well, you got to get some more help from the receivers. I mean, they just have to do the things that they're getting paid to do, which is run your route and catch the ball when you win your route. And they just didn't have as much of that as you would like to see, especially when the ball's hitting guys in the hands. Sometimes you get properly defended. There's nothing you can do about that. But when it hits you in the hands, you're expected to make that catch. And I think we have Coach Payton coming up.
All right, we'll check in with Coach Payton now.
Look, obviously, it's a tough way to lose a game. Tip your hat to Atlanta. I thought they played better than us today. Told our players, you can focus more on the result of that game. And as a coach, our jobs are to focus more on what caused the result. And we didn't do enough things well today. That always bothers you as the coach because you're wanting to see your performance be more consistent, better. But too many penalties, too many long yardage situations. We put ourselves behind the eight ball a number of times on offense in the first half. We finally put together a few drives at the end of the game. We didn't do the things that winning teams do consistently in our league, and we've got to get that corrected. We got to do a better job coaching. It starts with me being more consistent. Some areas, our third down numbers now, 2-3 weeks in a row have been just average at best, and we kind of go from there. But it is what it is. Questions? Go ahead. Quicker transition, like well, we sped up the tempo in the fourth quarter. So there was a point at which we were down more than 2 scores. Quickly, we got into a 2-minute mode. Fortunately, we were able to score, and we kind of stayed with that the next drive. And then once the time was in our favor, then we kind of went back to a little bit more traditional approach on the final drive where we scored. So yeah, that happened. I'm going to say probably third to last drive, fourth to last drive in the game. Well, you're looking at the scoreboard and saying you can't just meander along here, and run handoffs and huddle up. I mean, we needed to get moving a little bit.
Sean, on the Falcons' last drive when they got the field goal, on the play where Mike Davis fumbled, would you have let him score? Was that?
Yeah. Look. Yeah. Typically you take a knee there. They took a knee on the next play, so yeah. And we got it punched out. I don't know who did. And it's hard to see, but yeah, when it's that close. You've seen us in that position before. Run the clock down, kick the field goal with no time left. So, and he was smart enough where he was going to not score. I thought overall well. We missed some pickups. I thought he came to some. Man, he had a few throws in there that were, not primary receivers, and played with poise, brought us back. I thought overall, I felt like it was good. And then, of course, we'll look at it and grade it. But I thought we dropped a few balls, more than our fair share. And like I said, we're third and long. I don't know how many times with the penalties in the first half, but it's frustrating.
Coach, I know hindsight's always 20.
Correct.
But on the last big play, is there anything you could have done differently in coverage there, do you think?
Yeah. Yes. You want to stay on top of your coverage in that situation. We're playing a 3-deep zone. So.
Coach, how much are you use Taysom?
We got a package. I thought he gave us some energy when he came in. There was some, we had a run. We had a handful of plays. It was just kind of how the game went. And look, if you're not converting third downs, then your number count is not going to be 70-some offensive player, 80. You're just going to have a shorter amount of plays. So he's part of the plan.
No, but there was a Trevor, I think it was three plays maybe
Yeah, I think it was in the second half. There was a sequence of plays. Look, we were getting a lot of single safety, man-to-man looks, and we got to one of his runs earlier, and then we got to some play action passes. A lot of it was by design. It wasn't changing the quarterback to, and that's a fair question, but no, it was more of trying to get to a play that we had that he was taking the snaps of. Yeah, look, he's a good football player, and it's always difficult when you lose a starter like that. So we had to make some adjustments, and hopefully he can get back on the field quicker than later. But, yeah, that's tough. No update. We'll keep you guys posted. No, well, the time you would say you're out of your game plan a little bit is when we were in that hurry-up offense, the third, fourth to last, the minute we got into no huddle, you're kind of out of your game plan there. You're having to react according to the score of the game and the time left on the clock. That would be, and then kind of the next series, we were still in hurry up, scored. That final series, we were back in our game plan. The time was in our favor then. Say it again. It's hard to tell. We got to see the film. It was a running play, but it happened so quick. We'll watch and make corrections on it. See what happened.
Would you say it's fair to say that you didn't do enough to affect Matt Ryan for at least the first 3?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I mean, I don't know what his numbers were, but they were pretty good. Yeah, I think it's fair to say that.
Coach, do you feel like we all in the field
Yeah, well, it wasn't just receivers. I saw other guys dropping balls. All right, thank you.
I mean, he's obviously a huge part of what we do on our defense. Made a bunch of plays earlier in the game. He's a great matchup in the slot, pressures well, does everything. So missing him is going to be a big deal. But, I thought the guys, PJ's one of the guys we put everywhere on the secondary. He's playing corner, dime, nickel. And I thought he came in and played well. Obviously, Bradley Roby and Debo out there kind of playing some roles as well. So it just calls for guys to be up, but I think we prepare well. So I thought, even though we lost him, we fielded nice. Yeah. I'm not sure yet. I'm saying he's going to get evaluated, but obviously, we're all worried about what that's going to look like. The biggest thing is, for me as a quarterback of the defense, I feel like we kind of knew what that formation was going to be. We knew what the route was. They ran it earlier, really in the opening, I feel like drive of the game or early in the game. And it's up for me to make checks to put us in the best position to stop that. So they made a play, especially when they needed it, and hats off to them. Well, I think Matt Ryan just did a great job of being efficient. They didn't really run the ball that well, but they stuck to it enough to keep us honest. They won on some play action passes, a couple bootlegs here or there, and then when we did cover well, he did a good job of either extending the play or running. So they just kept them ahead of the sticks. It's hard to get them to make a mistake or get them behind the sticks. When we did do it, we were very, very effective. When we didn't, they had some plays. So hats off to them. They played well. They played efficient, made some great passes, great catches, and obviously gave them a chance to win.
You guys are 8 games in, like a lot of teams on the NFL, ups and downs so far. What's your read on this football team?
I mean, if all things considered, we've had an interesting first half of the season. I think we've competed well. I think we've shown ourselves that when we execute, we can play with anybody. And so the biggest thing for us that I say we don't like is the inconsistency. And we're a team that doesn't make excuses. We don't care about what's going on outside of the game, who's on the field or whatever. And so for us, if we want to be the team that we want. We've got to figure out how to continually be consistent, even obviously when there's going to be some adverse situations that's going to come. We got to be ready for it and come out more on the winning end of it than on the losing opposite.
Were you concerned at all? It's such an emotional win last week. The week after that, as a veteran player who's been in this league a long time, was that an area that you were a little bit concerned about this week?
I think that's always the easiest kind of thing to go to, is to say, well, you had the Super Bowl MVP in last week, coming off of a game in Seattle, that this is one of those games that, you let your guard down. I really don't think that was the case. I think, realistically as a team, our margin for error when we want to succeed is going to be smaller, obviously dealing with what we're dealing with offensively and defensively, yet we still were more than capable of winning this game. And when we saw it, we put ourselves in position and then just didn't come away with it in the end.
Coach said, it's his words, it was 3 deep coverage on that pass play. What could you have done to help maybe help the work down?
Yeah, it's just communication. It's, again, when you know a play's there, and as a deeper defender, there are things you can do to allow them to only play that route, especially when we know what's coming. Give them help on the inside, so you're not trying to stop everything. And again, as a quarterback of the secondary, I take those plays pretty serious. I'm fine. All good?
Thank you.
Yeah, it just felt like we were one play away numerous times of getting it right in the first half, and unfortunately we didn't get it done, especially early. Plenty of opportunities, and it seemed like every time we had something going, something came up the other way. So we'll get it fixed. Not really. I mean, you just you're worrying about the next play, and I told the guys I'm keep coming at them. So yeah, unfortunately, just first half we got to be better. Yeah, obviously the urgency picked up. We went, had to get back a couple scores quickly, and for whatever reason we got it going. But again, too little, too late. Can't spot a team that many scores and expect to win.
How did you feel overall in the first game you started in a long time? How did you feel?
Felt okay. Certainly some plays I want back. Wasn't perfect. Just kind of anxious to get into the game. You get the first drive, second drive, and then you feel like you're in a football game again. And that part was good. Just wish we could have done a little more in the first half. But yeah, felt good. It was good to compete.
Is it a battle to not get frustrated for yourself? I mean, are you naturally calm in that situation, or you find yourself, are you like fighting the frustration as you're having drop passes or penalties or whatever?
Yeah, I think so. It's frustrating for all of us. It's not me, but it's just, you're worried about the next play, and it's, we got to get it fixed. And the urgency certainly rises, but you do what it takes to get it right. So just, yelling or doing whatever, or getting worried, that doesn't really help the cause, right? You're just focused on the next play and getting it right. And we got good players, so guys are going to make plays. We just got to give them opportunities. Yeah, I just told Tehran, I thought I was probably too deep. I gotta look at it, but I thought I could have stepped up. I told Tehran, I gotta watch it, but that's my gut reaction right now.
Trevor, just big picture question. Where is this team? What's your read on this team 8 games in? I mean, you've got to get perspective of the team. Where this team is. What's your kind of perspective?
Yeah, we got a really good team, and we got to take it 1 week at a time. But yeah, I don't think there's anything we can't do, and I think everybody in the locker room realizes that. But the things that we didn't do well today, we got to get fixed because next week's coming. I'm anxious to get back out and play. I wish it was, tomorrow or the next day, but we got to get it fixed. But everything's in front of us, and I think we'll get it right.
Is it the battle of inconsistencies that one of the things that maybe that's you guys have to focus on?
Sure, but I mean that's the name of the game, right? If you're consistent and you did everything well all the time, you'd be 17-0. So that's how this league works. You got to expect everybody's best every game, and we got to be ready to go next week.
Does the success you guys had in the fourth quarter give you any, better feeling going forward? I know it's a loss, but obviously could have been 24-6.
No, we lost. So. Yeah, it's I knew there was a lot of time left, so the game wasn't over when we scored at the end. So you're still in the game, and it looked like Patterson made a really good play down the sideline. It was a good throw, but yeah, there was a lot of time left, so you're still holding your breath a little bit.
Trevor, did you feel the momentum within this game in the fourth quarter when you all got going?
Yeah, I think there were some drives that stayed on the field, and you get a couple big plays, and yeah, you get the momentum back, and that was big. For us, you just got to find a way to capture that earlier in the game, and you don't have to be in 2 minutes to do that either. So I think we'll get it right next week.
So you kind of hit on a little bit there. That feeling that you're one play away, when you start bringing a couple together, does that make things go a little bit smoother, like
Yeah.
keep the rhythm going as they go?
Yeah, that's what happens. You string a couple good plays together and a couple first downs, and then all of a sudden the play pops, and there's your big play, and then everybody sees it as momentum. But it's just, converting first downs, executing plays the way they're drawn up, and the big plays come. So we were close a couple times, just didn't get it done. Thanks, guys.
Just a really bad set angle. Read it wrong. Just really didn't put myself in position to win that snap. Completely on me, 100% on me. Just a terrible rep.
What do you think were some of the issues in the first half of keeping those drives sustained? You guys would run the ball kind of, would change the minute stall.
Self-inflicted wounds, penalties, some mishaps, some misexecution. That really all it bored down to. I think we did a good job of converting some first downs early on in drives, but the big third downs we just couldn't stay on the field and sustain drives, especially in the red zone. Well, we got into the red zone and penalties pushed us out. So just self-inflicted wounds.
Well, I know you guys are confident, Trevor, you said in the week, when you're playing in a game like this where you first start, how important is it not to have those holding false starts, drop pass?
Yeah. I mean, any game, every week, man, it's the NFL. It's a small margin for error, and we keep committing those errors. We're just putting ourselves in a bad starting spot. I think we responded well, cleaned up some areas, started to put some points on the board, but ultimately came up short. Understand what put us in that position, how we got into that position, take what we can from it, and move on to the next game. It's just one of 17, so can't put too much into it, whether it was a win or loss. We understand at being a loss, we have got to be able to dissect it, so we'll put ourselves in those positions moving forward.
Take what you can from it. What are a couple of things that maybe you'll take positively from this?
I'd have to go through film study. To get a chance to really diagnose and dissect the film on what we did well and what we didn't do well across the board. So offense, defense, special teams. But I'm sure there's a lot of really good football, and then some things that we have to clean up if we want to be one of those teams left standing.
Was this surprising just so far? It seems pretty out of character with this group. They kind of self-inflicted.
You never want those things to occur, but you just want to go out there, play fast, play hard, protect your guys, your quarterbacks, your runners. It's a game that's moving fast, so I know as far as up front, we're not trying to commit anything. It just sometimes it happens. It just goes back to our technique and fundamentals. Try to keep our hands and our feet where it needs to be.
Pretty successful on the ground in the first half. You showed that close to 100 yards first half. Is there anything you're going to look forward to that on the film? Obviously, y'all did well except for some third downs. Anything else like that?
We want to establish that every game. Every game, we feel like that's our makeup. We got two great runners and the O-line that's pretty good at, moving people and opening up some lanes. So, that's what we want to establish every game, every week. We did a good job of that early on in the first half. Second half is just a different flow of the game. We're behind, especially after the sack fumble, so we had to go to the air a lot more.
What made Trevor run the tempo offense there in the fourth quarter?
Trevor was great, composed, in control of everything. Pocket in the pocket, he was great. Quick decisions, everything. I'm a huge fan.
Do you feel like you mentioned margin of error just in general? Do you feel like this team, for the season, doesn't really have a big margin of error? Does that make sense? Like they're already down, your quarterback and Michael Thomas and everything like that. Do you kind of feel like it's getting to a point where you can't really make a lot of mistakes, I guess?
We don't want to make those mistakes, regardless of if we had Mike T, we had Jameis. We don't want to make those mistakes, especially the self-inflicted ones. You come into a game, things happen. Those guys make plays as well. So, but things that we can control, we try to get that squared away during the week. So when we come out on Sunday, we don't have those mistakes. So I wouldn't say this team has a different margin of error from others. That discipline, technique, fundamentals, I think that'll carry along no matter the personnel. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll punch it. And we kind of thought that they might, just to kill some time. But I think I was a little bit more surprised that got the ball out. Should have been more prepared and, knew that was going to happen. So.
Is that just bad luck on that it comes right to a guy who kind of waits for it?
Nah, I wouldn't even say bad luck, Like I said, we just got to be prepared and, take advantage of the opportunity, especially me. I punched it. I should have had it.
Mark, can you just describe the emotional swing from, rallying to take the lead and then about to get a big play and then winning the game, kind of the emotional that
I don't know. I don't really feel like we have emotional swings. For us, it's any chance that we get to get out there, and that's kind of the mindset that we have. So, anytime, no matter what kind of play, we just got to, be able to reset and get back to, doing our job. It was a good game. They had big plays, and we got to stop them. That's our job.
How good would you say Matt Ronnie was there?
He did really good. I think he scrambled more, especially efficiently. He was getting the ball out quick, and they did enough to win. He did enough to win, so that's it.
How frustrating was it not to be able to do the rest of
I think the biggest thing, with that frustration is we didn't win. Shoot, I've been okay with nothing if we would have won. So we just got to do more.
Sean was saying on the play where the ball came out, that the idea was to let the forward stay in play if it came down to that. So are you instructed to go after the ball or instructed to not tackle the guy in that situation? You know, so it's not very much. It has on the other side, but.
Something like that. It was more if you get the chance to get the ball out, take it. And that's pretty much what we should have done. You know, it was kind of in between one of those situations. And like I said, you know, I feel like I should have done more, especially in that play. So.
Pete.
And with that, the players and Coach Payton have spoken, and it was safety Malcolm Jenkins who said, you have to put things in perspective here and think about what this team has gone through this season. Right now, they're 5-3, and they're still vying for a second spot right now in the division. They are just right behind Tampa Bay. And you think about it, starting the season with Hurricane Ida, this team searching for a quarterback for the third straight season. That's something that this franchise has not had to do since 2000, when their quarterback, Blake, broke his foot 11 games into the season. You consider that, it's a tough situation. Speaking of feet, we don't have Michael Thomas. The wide receiver announced earlier this week that he is not going to be able to play the rest of the season after there's been setbacks to his foot surgery that he had earlier this year. There has been a lot of other injuries on this squad. So you think about all of the things that this team has had to battle through, and the fact that they're 5-3, they're second in the NFC South, just behind Tampa Bay. They're not in a bad spot. Looking at the rest of the division, it is Tampa Bay 6-2, the Saints 5-3, the Falcons now 4-4 after today's win. They do go to 500, and the Carolina Panthers sitting at 4-5. The Saints still have an opportunity to take over this division. They're just behind Tampa Bay, who they won against last week. So they have what would be a tiebreaker if it came to it in that win. We're going to bring back John DeShazer to wrap things up here on the show. Coach Payton had a lot to say after this one, and he took a lot of the ownership with this loss. John, what stood out to you about what Coach Payton said following the 27-25 loss to the Falcons?
Well, it always goes back to the mistakes and how you clean them up. You know, are they correctable? How correctable are they? These are very, very correctable errors. When you're talking about penalties, mental errors, when you're talking about the physical errors of dropping passes, those are things that obviously you don't do in practice, and you hope to be able to clean up during the work week, and so they won't be repetitive. Once they get repetitive, then it's a really, really big problem. And these haven't been problems for the Saints this season. They have not been a team that's been this heavily penalized. They've not been a team that's dropped a lot of passes. So you feel like these are correctable items, but to see them surface during a game is always alarming. And I understand, you know, when people are watching it, they're thinking, oh, this has got to be the worst team in the league, because, you know, that's the kind of panic that accompanies this. But as you mentioned, Aaron, they're 5-3. They're 5-3 after all is said and done. They're one game behind the division leaders in the NFC South division. And that stuff means something. I mean, it's pretty incredible where the Saints are when you consider what they've gone through this season. And I understand no one stops. No one is going to weep. No one's going to feel sorry for the Saints. They don't feel sorry for themselves because they understand this is a business, and it goes on whether or not you're 100% healthy, whether or not you're displaced by a hurricane, whatever it is, the business keeps rolling on. And the Saints have handled it about as well as I think a team can handle it. And so, you know, there are a couple of games, obviously, they want back. They want back that Giants game. They want back this game. That's not the way it works, though. So they're 5-3. That, you know, as Coach Payton always says, that Bill Parcells always said, you are what your record says you are. But the record says the Saints are not a bad team. They're 5-3. And so, you know, hopefully they'll be able to pick up from this, learn from those mistakes, and move on, and hopefully be able to take a victory against Tennessee.
Good points as always, John. Thank you so much for joining us on the post game today. Looking ahead for the Saints, they will be at Tennessee next week. That is a 12 o'clock start. Again, this time it'll be on CBS, so make sure you check that out. John DeShazer and I will be back on the pregame and postgame show for you next week on NewOrleansSaints.com. And you can, of course, catch up with everything that happened in this ball game at our website. And all week we'll keep you updated as news rolls out and the players are back to practice. Thanks so much for joining us on this edition, and have a good rest of the Sunday.
Ryan is now tied for 6th in NFL history with Marino. Stafford with 33 fourth quarter comebacks. That's one behind Johnny Unitas for 5th. We saw Team Deuce play in the late third all the way through the fourth that we did not see in the first 3.5 quarters.
Disappointing too. I mean, you go and you look, how you were running the football. You were running it really, really well, but the 5 drops, in this game, it's a totally different game. I mean, if you just hold on to the ball, it's a totally different game, and you put so much more pressure and stress on Atlanta. Defensively, you kind of woke up. You were not giving them kind of the easy routes that they had, but the matchup for me, I like the matchup as far as putting a corner on Patterson, but I mean, too early in the game, even when he was matched up on Lattimore with Pitts, I mean, you've got to put a corner on those guys. I mean, they're big guys, they're fast, and so